Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm so glad to be here on the 4th of July with so many friends that I've known for so many years, a lot of new friends. I want to thank God that I'm an American and have the freedom that I have to do what I do. I want to thank each one of y'all for coming out to see this show tonight. You're about to see the worst part of the show. No. I've been doing this a long time. Started recording albums about 20 years ago. Before that, I was in the music business. As he said, I worked with Ray Price and Mel Tillis. A lot of people like that for over the years. But I got to tell you, I started doing the albums, as I said, about 20 years ago, the comedy album. So I went on the road and toured for many years. And sort of took a break, but I've decided to go back out and do it again at age 69 years old. And just keep on going as long as I can. My wife, Lucretia, and I never had no money, and I told the story the last time I was here about remodeling our house right after we got our first royalty check. But that turned out real nice. So the second thing we decided to do was buy a new car. I had always driven these old raggedy vehicles all my life and just decided to get us a new car. But my travels had taken me all over the country for many years, touring, as I said. And I would play a lot of dates over in the Southeast where everybody over there is crazy about that NASCAR racing. And I didn't know one thing about it. Every time I would go and sit in with the John Boy and Billy show or one of those radio shows, they would want to talk to me about NASCAR racing, and I couldn't even carry on a conversation. So right after we got the new car, we decided to go to the Texas Motor Speedway. They had just built it, and see a race. And I thought maybe if I could learn enough about it to talk with some sense that it would really help me when I go visit these radio shows. So one Saturday morning, we piled in the brand new car. We were going to take off, and I had my wife Lucretia sitting over here on this side, and her sister Pearline sitting in the back seat. And I don't mean to say Pearline is slow, but under a job application here a while back, under education, she put hooked on phonics. That'll kind of give you an idea about her. And just as mean as she can be, I'll tell you something that happened with her. She can't keep a job anywhere because she's so mean. She cannot get along with anybody. She's hateful to customers when she's worked in retail, hateful to everybody, including her bosses. Well, she got on me several years ago, back when my friend Jimmy Carpenter was a postmaster here in Nacogdoches. She wanted a job working at the Nacogdoches post office. And I knew she couldn't cut it down there, but she was just driving me crazy. So I went down to see Jimmy one day and I said, Jimmy, Pearline is wanting a job down here, and I know she can't make it as a postal employee, but would you just put her on for a couple of weeks so she'll get off of my back? And so he agreed to do it. And I ran into him at the coffee shop one day, about a week or two after that. I said, how's she doing down there? He got tickled. He said, listen, I got to tell you what happened. He said, I started her off sorting mail. You know, they sit down, they got the little cubicles, pigeonholes there. And he said, I was watching her one day, and she was chunking that mail so fast it looked like a machine gun. The letters just looked like a blur going into it. And he said, I stood there and watched her for a while. Never had seen anything like it. He said, so I finally tapped her on her shoulder. She looked at me mean, with that old mean look on her face, and she said, what do you want? He said, well, I just wanted to compliment you. Deborah, how you doing today? Y'all Miss Deborah a big hand. Could you hear me when you were back there? We could all hear you too. So anyway, she fell right for that. So anyway, he said, I just wanted to compliment you. He said, I've been in this business over 25 years, and I have never seen a mail sorter sort mail any faster than you have. She looked up at him, she said, Mr. Carpenter, if I could read, I'd be twice as fast. Well, anyway, that morning we had hardly gotten out of Nacogdoches. We got up here about Central Heights, and a highway patrolman was meeting me, and he pulled me over. I saw him coming around, so I pulled over off the side of the road. And of course, I've always been very polite to law enforcement. I didn't want to get knocked upside the head or nothing like that, so I pulled over. He walked up to the car. He was very nice. He said, may I see your driver's license? I handed it to him. He said, Mr. Richardson, do you realize you were exceeding the speed limit when you came over this hill a few minutes ago? I said, oh, no, sir, I sure didn't. I'll slow down. My wife, with her big mouth over there tuned up, she said, you know you said when we left the house this morning, you hoped there wasn't going to be no radar out. He really started looking at me then. He said, did you know your tail light is out back there? And I said, oh, no, I didn't. I'll get that fixed right up here at Henderson on the way to Dallas. She said, that tail light was not working when you bought the car and brought it home. I've been on you for 3 months to get it fixed. He looked down at my lap and he said, and you're not wearing a seatbelt. That's another violation. And I said, well, I was, but I took it off when you pulled me over. I thought I might have to get out and talk to you. She said, you ain't never wore a seatbelt in your life and you know it. And I don't ever scream at my family, but she made me so mad that morning. I just said, Lucretia, would you please shut your big fat mouth? The highway patrolman looked at her and he said, ma'am, does he always talk to you like that? She said, just when he's been drinking. Well, I had not been drinking. He looked at the back seat of old Pearline. He said, your eyes look kind of red. Have you been drinking too? She said, yours look kind of glazed. Have you been eating donuts?